What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Eagles Postgame Recap. I'm Alex Miller from the Eagle, joined always by Robert Cessna and Travis Brown. We're here inside AT&T Stadium following Texas A&M's 34-22 win over the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Southwest Classic. Well, if we know one thing, A&M and Arkansas always keep it entertaining, and that certainly was the case again today. Wouldn't you say, Cease?
Yeah, it's kind of a different way. I kind of thought it would be within a touchdown game, but really when you look at it, there were some weird plays. It always is, but when you look at play after play, A&M was just, to me, more dominant on both sides, and I didn't really see that coming in. I mean, we talked before, I didn't know what to expect, and I just saw a pretty good effort by A&M in all three phases.
Yeah, with A&M's defense has been the question mark all season, especially after that Miami game. The defense is what won them the game today with 7 sacks, holding them to a season-low yardage, holding them to field goals instead of touchdowns when A&M was able to get touchdowns in that big Chris Russell defensive interception touchdown late in the game. The offense was good, especially in the first half, but it was the defense that really stepped up and showed that they've been able to make progress since that Miami loss.
Yeah, A&M beat Auburn, of course, last week, and, Auburn not probably SEC West contender, although, they just took the lead against Georgia in a rivalry game. But, certainly impressive the way that A&M was able to limit Arkansas today collectively. I mean, Arkansas only had 174 total yards. And, with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders back, Arkansas typically tends to have its way moving the ball against A&M, and A&M's front seven has really turned a corner these last 2 weeks, Cease.
Yeah, I love the front seven, the pressure they were getting with 4 guys, and then when they did bring pressure a few times, they really overwhelmed Arkansas, and I really hadn't seen that yet. And you looked at the Auburn game, and I kind of sloughed it off, but now that we saw that Auburn's playing Georgia a little bit closer than I thought would be possible, suddenly that defense has really come on since the Miami game when they didn't do anything. And now when you look, and I know that Cooper and York have played well against maybe a questionable competition, but I thought Arkansas would come out ready for this ball game. They usually do. KJ Jefferson, one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the country. I figured he'd be good for 250 by himself, running and passing, and they're 80 yards under that. So once again, when you look at what the defense was able to do, and if Johnson doesn't have 2 turnovers, A&M might have won this game by 30 points.
Travis, on the other side of the ball, kind of a redemption story for Ainias Smith. Of course, this was the game last year. He suffered the season-ending leg injury. Got to hear a lot, really, from him after the game, just about, what today meant, and he really showed out on the field for the Aggies, too.
Yeah, like you mentioned the last time that any A&M fans or anybody saw him in action on the field last season was in this game because he broke his leg, and there's kind of that shot that's ingrained in everybody's mind of him sitting next to his dad with the towel over his head, and both of them emotional. This is his first time back to this stadium, and he's a part of a group of wide receivers that he's just one of the guys, because they have a lot of guys in there, and don't get me wrong, he puts up his numbers, but he's just one of the guys. But how he really can separate himself on this group, this team, is in his punt returns, and he finally got that punt return touchdown, his first touchdown of the season, comes right back, and that was even on a play where he kind of muffed the punt, had to go back and get it, and then ran right through the defense and got the touchdown, came back with another 40-plus yard punt return, a drive later. He really had that going. You could tell that this is a game that he had circled because of what happened to him last year.
You make a good point, Travis, because this is A&M's 5th game of the season. They're 4-1. I think A&M's feeling pretty decent about where they are on offense, even though they've lost Connor Wegman for the season now. And you mentioned that's Ainias Smith's first touchdown of the year. I think that really shows where the growth of A&M's offense and kind of the versatility of guys that they can go to has been.
Yeah, look at all the wide receivers. And, even Evan Stewart goes down for a little bit during this game. He ended up coming back and playing in the game. But, they hit the tight ends a decent amount today with between Max Wright and Jake Johnson. And then you even have a fullback touchdown with Ernest Crownover. They ran a handoff play to Le'Veon Moss to set up the play-action pass, just as textbook as it can be, right over to the fullback coming out of the backfield, and he just kind of tiptoed right into the end zone. So they have a just slew gob of guys that they can get the ball to, but it doesn't. It can be any of those guys in any given day.
Slew gob of guys. I love it. Hey, it was pretty funny too after the game talking to Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, he fired off a tweet with the Hogs like right afterward. That was pretty funny, just hearing about some of that.
Yeah, he's a big hunter. That's his hobby out of football, and he makes a point, each year to go out and about 15 minutes outside of College Station and do a little feral hog hunting to kind of get him in the right mindset for this A&M Arkansas game against the Hogs. He had a great game. He had 2 sacks. He shared for the lead in tackles with Bryce Anderson, 3 tackles for loss, a quarterback hurry. I think a lot of us thought coming into the season that linebacker might actually be the biggest question mark on the defense, and they might be one of the strongest. And with the increased positive play of the defensive line and the linebackers, the defensive secondary has looked a lot better too. I go back to the play. It's the third quarter, early in the third quarter. It's 13-20. A&M's in the lead, and KJ Jefferson throws that one first shot that they've thrown down the field, and Tyreek Chappelle gets like a fraction of the tip of his finger on the end of that ball to knock it away, and he had his head looking the other way, so it might have even been inadvertent. But if they score that, it's a tie game at 20. It's not 16-20 like it ended up being after the field goal. And at a tie game in the third quarter, right after you gave up the pick 6 touchdown, that could be a completely different ball game from there.
Well, A&M survives Arkansas another year. Now they go home, and what do you know? It's Alabama coming to town. Cease, what do you kind of make of where the Aggies are at going into this game? A game that, Alabama seems as beatable as ever, it seems.
I can't think of a better time for A&M to go in. You might have to go back to the Johnny era, because right now A&M's got to feel very confident. As this game was unfolding, Arkansas gets 2 field goals to start out, and I said, well, they're going to adjust and they're going to get touchdowns. No, what happened is A&M adjust and shut Arkansas down completely, and you guys talked about the offense. You throw in special teams. So A&M right now is operating on all cylinders, and it's easy to say, yeah, Jimbo said you want all 3 phases, but the fact that I feel this team can score, and now this team can put pressure on offenses. I didn't know if they could do that after the Miami game. That Miami game when Miami just went up and down the field with Van Dyke with no problems, and today Jefferson was a frustrated, beaten guy after that. And when you think this guy's almost started 40 games and A&M made him look like basically a junior high guy starting out, that's a amazing way to go from Van Dyke from that game to today, what they've been able to do.
And one more guy we got to mention, and I'm going to kind of toot my own horn here because I've been on him for the last couple of weeks, is Le'Veon Moss. Another 100-yard game. I've said it before in one of these things. I'm going to say it again. Yes, I think Reuben Owens is going to be the best running back of the group when you look back in 4 years, but Le'Veon Moss is built with the combination of strength and speed right now to be the best back that they have this year, and that's continually being proven with the increased amount of touches he has and the yardage he's putting up.
Well, guys, you got any final thoughts on today's game?
Just the fact that I was very impressed with A&M's total effort, because I expected like a 34-30 game. I think that's what I picked. And the fact is that Arkansas needed a lot of help to get to 22.
We'll have to go back and kind of look at the numbers, but this might be one of the least attended one of these games. And I know, everyone knows this game is going to go back to campus in 2 years, but it was a pretty exciting game going through with a lot of action, a lot of crazy stuff, and it seemed like a pretty dead crowd. So I think this game is bringing on a slow death.
Yeah, could you imagine 100,000 people at A&M watching this game today. The way A&M played, all the plays that A&M made, think what the crowd would do. And then in Arkansas made a few plays early. What would a crowd do? And you need the college crowd. You need the home crowd. We like coming up here, but
all credit to the Cotton Bowl folks for putting this on for us. Great food. We got stats. We got replays. It's great. We're going to miss it, but I don't think the fans will.
Yeah, I will miss eating mac and cheese for breakfast. All right, be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage from today's game. We'll be back next week as A&M takes on Alabama.